I'm Chelsea Stewart, and I've just returned from hell. 3 months in Syria will do that to you. The shrapnel scar on my left temple still throbs when it rains, and Jersey City's winter drizzle isn't helping. Stewart, my office now! Eric's voice cut through the newsroom chaos like a blade. Eric Flores, my editor, had the charm of a rattlesnake and twice the venom. I grabbed my lukewarm coffee and trudged toward his glass cage. This corruption piece better be gold, he barked, not looking up from his screen. The Tribune's breathing down our necks. I need more time. The sources are skittish. You have 48 hours. Make it work. Outside, the snowfall made everything look clean. But I knew better. Nothing stays clean in this business. Meanwhile, across town, Hannah Carter was having her own crisis. The prize stallion Thunder's pride lay dying in stall 12, and she had no damn clue why. 20 years of breeding expertise, and she felt helpless as a child. The blood work shows nothing, Dr. Martinez said, shaking his head. It's like he's just giving up. Hannah's green eyes filled with tears she refused to shed. This horse represented everything she'd worked for at Millbrook Stables. If Thunder died, her reputation died with him. That night, desperation drove us both to the same all-night convenience store on Central Avenue. I was hunting for caffeine strong enough to keep me vertical. She was seeking comfort food after another sleepless night at the stable. We collided at the coffee machine, literally. Sorry, I muttered, already reaching for the strongest blend. Long night? She asked, and something in her voice made me look up. Damn. Brunette hair escaping from a messy bun, green eyes that held depths I wanted to explore, and hands that spoke of honest work. She wore exhaustion like I did, but somehow made it look graceful. You could say that. You. My horse is dying, and I can't figure out why. The raw honesty in her voice surprised me. Most people in this city wouldn't admit weakness to a stranger, but there was something different about her. I'm sorry. That's rough. Yeah, well, life's rough. She grabbed a candy bar and headed for the register. Take care of yourself. I watched her walk away, noting the determined set of her shoulders despite the defeat in her voice. Something about her stuck with me as I returned to my empty apartment and the pile of notes that would either make or break my career. Neither of us knew that our paths were about to cross again in ways that would change everything. The corruption story led me straight to Millbrook Stables. Financial records showed suspicious cash flows, and my gut told me something stank worse than horse manure. What I didn't expect was to find the woman from the convenience store standing in the main barn, arguing with a man in an expensive suit. Mr. Blackwood, I won't falsify breeding records, she was saying, her voice steel-wrapped in silk. Not for you, not for anyone. That's when she spotted me. Recognition flashed across her face, followed quickly by suspicion. Can I help you? She asked, stepping protectively in front of Thunder's Pride stall. Chelsea Stewart, Jersey Tribune. I'm investigating financial irregularities at this facility. The temperature in the barn dropped 10 degrees. Hannah Carter, as I'd learn her name, crossed her arms and fixed me with a stare that could freeze flames. You're the reporter. And you're the horse expert who's been keeping quiet about some very interesting money transfers. I don't know what you're talking about. But her eyes said otherwise. They said she knew exactly what I was talking about and hated every second of it. Look, I'm not here to destroy you. I'm here for the truth. The truth? She laughed bitterly. The truth is that people like you destroy lives for headlines. You don't care about the horses or the people who love them. That's not fair. Fair? You want to talk about fair? Thunder's been sick for weeks, and all anyone cares about is money. Including you, apparently. Her passion was magnetic. Even angry, she was beautiful in a way that made my chest tight. But I had a job to do. If there's corruption here, don't you want it exposed? What I want is for my horse to live. Our argument was interrupted by Blackwood's return. Hannah's entire demeanor shifted, walls slamming up like castle gates. Ms. Carter, I trust you'll consider our discussion. After he left, the tension between us could have powered the entire stable. But something had shifted. Maybe it was the way she'd protected that horse, or how she'd stood up to Blackwood despite obviously needing his business. You're right, I said finally. I don't know anything about horses. But I do know about corruption, and this place reeks of it. So, what do you want from me? Help me understand. Show me what's really happening here. She studied my face for a long moment. Why should I trust you? Because we both want the same thing, the truth. 3 hours later, we were sitting in a diner on Route 9, sharing coffee and the best conversation I'd had in months. She told me about her dedication to the horses, her dreams of ethical breeding practices. I found myself sharing more than I intended about the weight of carrying other people's stories. You're different than I expected, she said as we walked to the parking lot. Different how? More human. Before I could respond, she leaned in and kissed me. Soft, tentative, like she was asking a question. When she pulled back, her green eyes were questioning. Was that okay? More than okay, I whispered, already wanting more. The kiss changed everything. Over the next few days, Hannah and I found excuses to meet. Coffee turned into dinner, dinner turned into long walks through Liberty State Park despite the bitter cold. She was teaching me about horses, and I was learning that beneath her professional exterior was someone who felt things deeply. You flinch when cars backfire, she observed one evening as we sat by the waterfront. I hadn't realized she'd noticed. Syria. Some habits die hard. Tell me about it. Most people asked that question like they were requesting a weather report. Hannah asked like she genuinely wanted to carry part of the weight. There was this school, I found myself saying. Bombed during my second week there. 15 kids died. I was supposed to write about reconstruction efforts, but instead, I'm interviewing mothers who'll never see their children again. Her hand found mine in the darkness. That's why you became a journalist? To tell their stories? I thought so. Now I'm not sure what I'm doing anymore. You're doing something that matters, even if it hurts. The way she said it, without judgment or empty platitudes, made something crack open inside my chest. When she leaned closer, I didn't pull away. I've never been with a reporter before, she whispered. I've never been with someone who understood why I do what I do. This kiss was different from the first, hungrier, more certain. When we finally broke apart, we were both breathing hard. Come home with me, she said. Her apartment was small but warm, filled with horse photographs and veterinary journals. We barely made it through the door before we were kissing again, hands tangling in hair, months of professional tension finally finding release. When she pulled back to look at me, her green eyes were dark with want. Are you sure about this? Instead of answering, I kissed her neck, tasting salt and something uniquely Hannah. She gasped, her fingers gripping my shoulders. We moved together toward her bedroom, shedding clothes and inhibitions along the way. What happened next was tender and fierce, all at once. She touched me like I was precious, like I might break. But when I responded with equal intensity, her gentleness gave way to passion. We discovered each other slowly, thoroughly, until the world outside ceased to exist. Afterward, we lay tangled in her sheets, my head on her chest, listening to her heartbeat slow to normal. I have to ask you something, she said, her fingers tracing patterns on my bare shoulder. Your investigation of the stables, how much trouble am I in? The question I'd been dreading. Depends. Are you involved in whatever Blackwood's doing? No. But I know about it. Then you're not in trouble. You're the solution. She was quiet for so long I thought she'd fallen asleep. Finally she spoke. My whole career is tied to that place. If I help you, I lose everything. If you don't help me, you lose your integrity. And based on what I've learned about you, that's worse. She turned to face me, studying my expression in the dim light. What have you learned about me? That you'd rather lose your job than compromise your principles. That you care more about those horses than your own comfort. That you're braver than you think. I'm terrified. Good. Fear keeps you honest. She kissed me then, soft and sweet, and I tasted possibility on her lips. Whatever happened next, we'd face it together. Monday morning brought Eric storming into the newsroom like a hurricane with a personal grudge. Stuart, where's my story? I need more time. The source is cooperating, but it's delicate. Delicate? His face turned an unhealthy shade of red. The Tribune's running their corruption piece Thursday. Either you give me something better, or you're back to covering school board meetings. The threat hung in the air like smoke. 3 years of war reporting, and he'd reduce me to writing about budget proposals. But Hannah's trust meant more than my byline. Give me until Friday. Wednesday. Final offer. That afternoon, Hannah called in tears. They're suing me. Blackwood's claiming I sabotaged Thunder on purpose to hurt the facility's reputation. That's insane. You've been trying to save that horse. Tell that to their lawyers. They want damages, my veterinary license, everything. I found her at Millbrook, sitting beside Thunder's stall. The stallion looked marginally better, but Hannah looked worse. I might have a solution, I said carefully. But you won't like it. I'm listening. My editor has connections, legal ones. If I give him the story he wants, he might be able to help you. What story? The corruption piece. With your testimony. Her green eyes flashed. Using me as your source. You'd be protected. Anonymous. Until Blackwood figures out it was me. Then what? I disappear like other whistleblowers? She had a point. But damn it, I was running out of options for both of us. There has to be another way. Maybe there is. She stood, brushing stray hair from her face. But it means trusting each other completely. That evening we met at her apartment instead of some public place. The secrecy was becoming second nature, stolen moments between professional obligations. When she opened the door, I could see the day's stress in every line of her body. Come here, I said, pulling her into my arms. We held each other without speaking, finding comfort in simple contact. These quiet intimacies were becoming as important as the passionate ones. I hate this, she whispered against my shoulder. Hiding what we are. It won't be forever. Won't it? Your career, my career, we're both walking tightropes. I tilted her chin up, meeting those worried green eyes. Hey, we'll figure it out. Promise me something. Anything. Don't sacrifice yourself for me. I couldn't live with that. Instead of answering, I kissed her. Slow and deep, trying to pour everything I couldn't say into the connection between us. She responded with equal intensity, her hands fisting in my jacket. I need you, she whispered against my lips. You have me. We made love with desperate tenderness, knowing our time was borrowed. Every touch felt like a promise, every kiss like a small act of rebellion against a world trying to keep us apart. Later, as she traced lazy patterns on my skin, Hannah spoke into the darkness. What if we ran away, started over somewhere else? Is that what you want? I want to wake up next to you without checking over my shoulder. I want to hold your hand in public. I want normal. Normal's overrated. Easy for you to say. You're not the one about to lose everything. The pain in her voice cut deep. She was right. My career could survive scandal better than hers could. Then we fight, I said, together. The animal shelter on Grove Street became our sanctuary. Hannah suggested we volunteer there together, claiming it would help us both process stress. What I didn't expect was how natural we'd look working side by side, saving abandoned animals instead of chasing headlines. This one's been here 3 months, Hannah said, kneeling beside a scarred mare. Nobody wants her because she's too skittish. I watched Hannah's gentle approach, the way she moved slowly, speaking in soft tones. The horse gradually stopped trembling. She just needs someone to understand her, I observed. Don't we all? The parallel wasn't lost on either of us. We were both damaged goods, finding healing in each other's presence. Working together felt right in ways I couldn't explain. Hannah's expertise complemented my instincts, and for the first time in months, I felt useful without a camera or notebook. You're good at this, she said as I helped her treat the mare's wounds. I'm just following your lead. No, you're not. You're thinking like her, anticipating what she needs. The praise warmed me more than it should have. We'd been stealing moments like this for weeks, finding excuses to touch hands while reaching for the same supplies, sharing looks that said everything we couldn't voice in public. That's when Jane Carter walked in. I knew immediately she was trouble. Designer jeans at an animal shelter, perfectly styled blonde hair, and the kind of confidence that came from never hearing the word no. But it was Hannah's reaction that made my stomach drop. Hannah? What are you doing here? The color drained from Hannah's face. Jane, I could ask you the same thing. Daddy's making me do community service, something about public image. Jane's eyes found mine with calculating interest. And you are? Chelsea Stewart. I volunteer here. The reporter. Jane's smile was sharp as glass. I've heard so much about you. Hannah stood quickly, putting distance between us. Jane, we should talk, privately. As they walked away, I heard Jane's voice carrying, Still trying to save every broken thing you find? The words stung because they weren't entirely wrong. But Hannah wasn't broken. She was strong, passionate, dedicated. Everything Jane would never understand. When Hannah returned 20 minutes later, she looked shaken. Ex-girlfriend? I asked. Something like that. She couldn't meet my eyes. It's complicated. How complicated? She's Jane Carter, of Carter Industries. Oil, gas, chemicals. Her family owns half of Jersey City. And she's offering me a job. Head of their equine division. Triple my current salary. The implications hit me like a physical blow. Financial security, professional advancement, everything Hannah deserved but couldn't get at Millbrook. That's great news. Is it? Hannah finally looked at me. Because there are conditions. What kind of conditions? The kind that would require me to keep certain relationships private. The casual cruelty of it took my breath away. Jane had walked into our safe space and poisoned it with a few well-chosen words. Hannah, you can't seriously be considering this. Can't I? You don't understand what it's like to live paycheck to paycheck, to have your entire future dependent on pleasing people like Blackwood. But Jane's just another version of Blackwood. Worse, probably. Maybe. But she's offering me a way out. That night, Hannah canceled our dinner plans. The next day, she was distant during our volunteer shift. By Friday, she was taking Jane's calls during our time together. I watched Jane work her magic with growing horror. Expensive dinners, private stable tours, promises of everything Hannah had ever wanted professionally. And underneath it all, the subtle implication that Hannah could have it all back. The life she'd walked away from. You're losing her, I told myself while lying awake at 3 a.m. But the real question was whether I'd ever really had her to begin with. Jane's manipulation was textbook psychological warfare. She'd show up at Hannah's apartment with takeout from expensive restaurants, claiming she happened to be in the neighborhood. She'd call during our volunteer shifts with urgent questions about horse breeding that somehow required hour-long conversations. She's just trying to be supportive, Hannah said when I finally confronted her about it. Supportive? She's trying to buy you. Not everything is about money, Chelsea. But it was about money. Hannah's credit card had been declined at the coffee shop that morning. Her car was making sounds that suggested expensive repairs. Jane knew exactly which pressure points to press. I need to tell you something, I said during one of our increasingly rare private moments. About my investigation. What about it? Jane's involved. Carter Industries has been funneling money through dummy corporations, the same ones connected to Millbrook. Hannah went very still. What are you saying? I'm saying your ex-girlfriend is using you to get information about my investigation. The job offer, the financial help, it's all connected. You're being paranoid. Am I? When's the last time she asked you about what I'm working on? Hannah's silence was answer enough. The breaking point came a week later. I'd finally gathered enough evidence to expose the entire network of corruption, but needed Hannah's inside knowledge to make the case stick. When I showed up at her apartment, Jane was already there. Chelsea. Perfect timing, Jane said with false brightness. Hannah was just telling me about your little project. My little project? The investigation. Such important work, exposing corporate malfeasance. Though I have to wonder if you've considered all the consequences. What consequences? Hannah's career, for instance. Her reputation. Amazing how quickly things can fall apart when the wrong people get angry. The threat was barely veiled. I looked at Hannah, hoping to see disgust, defiance, anything. Instead, I saw fear. Hannah, tell me you don't believe this. I don't know what to believe anymore, she whispered. That's when Jane moved in for the kill. The job offer expires tomorrow, Hannah. After that, I can't protect you from whatever fallout comes from Chelsea's story. Protect her. I couldn't keep the anger from my voice. You're the one she needs protection from. Am I? I'm not the one asking her to risk everything for a byline. I'm asking her to do what's right. Right according to whom? Your editor? Your readers? What about what's right for Hannah? Hannah stood between us, literally and figuratively torn. Stop. Both of you, just stop. But Jane wasn't finished. You know what I find interesting, Chelsea? How you claim to care about Hannah, but you're still planning to publish a story that could destroy her life. That's not true. Isn't it? You're using her, just like everyone else. At least I'm honest about what I want. The accusation hit because it contained just enough truth to sting. I was using Hannah as a source, even if our relationship had become something deeper. Hannah, you know that's not how it is between us. Do I? Hannah's voice was small, uncertain. Because right now it feels like everyone wants something from me, and I don't know who to trust. That night, Jane stayed over. I knew because I sat in my car outside Hannah's building until I saw the lights go out. The image of them together made me physically ill. My investigation stalled. Eric was furious, threatening to reassign the story, but I couldn't move forward without risking Hannah's future. Every lead I developed seemed to circle back to her somehow. Meanwhile, Jane's campaign intensified. Designer clothes appeared in Hannah's closet. Her car problems mysteriously resolved themselves. The financial pressure that had been crushing her began to ease. She's not evil, Hannah said during one of our increasingly strained conversations. She's just trying to help. Help herself to you, maybe. That's not fair. Neither is asking you to choose between your integrity and your security. But that's exactly what Jane was doing, and we both knew it. The job offer came with unspoken expectations. The financial support came with strings attached. Jane was offering Hannah everything she needed, as long as she was willing to forget what we'd shared. The worst part was watching Hannah consider it. Really consider it. Because Jane was offering something I couldn't. Stability, security, a future without constant struggle. All I could offer was love, uncertainty, and the possibility that doing the right thing might cost us everything. I woke up Tuesday morning to 17 missed calls from Eric. That's never a good sign. The Tribune building felt like a morgue as I walked through the lobby, past colleagues who couldn't meet my eyes. Get in here, now. Eric's voice carried across the entire newsroom. His office reeked of coffee and disappointment. The computer screen facing me showed my byline on a story I'd never finished writing. What the hell is this? I demanded. Page 1, Wednesday edition. Congratulations, Stuart. You just exposed the biggest corruption scandal in Jersey City history. I didn't authorize publication. This isn't ready. It's ready enough. We have sources, documentation, the works. Hannah's name is in here. You promised me she'd be protected. Eric's smile was that of a shark scenting blood. Sources get burned sometimes. Cost of doing business. I grabbed the printed copy, scanning frantically. There it was, third paragraph. Hannah Carter, senior breeding specialist at Millbrook Stables, provided crucial testimony regarding illegal financial practices. Her name, her workplace, everything that would destroy her life. You bastard. You knew what this would do to her. I knew what it would do for our circulation numbers. Sometimes you have to sacrifice a source for the greater good. The greater good? She trusted me. She trusted the wrong person. I was already reaching for my phone when Eric's words stopped me cold. I wouldn't call her if I were you. Why not? Because she's probably busy. With her lawyer and Carter Industries' legal team. Seems Jane Carter filed an injunction against us this morning. Claims we're publishing stolen proprietary information. The room spun. You knew Jane would do this. Hope she would. Nothing sells papers like a legal battle with oil money. I ran. Actually ran from the building, ignoring Eric's calls behind me. My phone buzzed continuously during the drive to Hannah's apartment. Jane's car was in the parking lot, sleek and predatory. Hannah opened the door looking like she'd survived a natural disaster. Red eyes, tangled hair, wearing yesterday's clothes. You son of a bitch, she said quietly. Hannah, listen to me. I didn't know Eric would publish without permission. But you wrote it. Every word about me, about us, about everything I trusted you with. Jane appeared behind her like a guardian angel in designer jeans. Chelsea, how thoughtful of you to come by. Stay out of this, Jane. I'm afraid I can't do that. Hannah's my client now. Legally speaking. Your client? Carter Industries is representing Miss Carter in her lawsuit against you and the Tribune. Conflict of interest, invasion of privacy, industrial espionage. The works. The beautiful efficiency of it took my breath away. Jane had orchestrated the entire situation, knowing Eric would eventually betray Hannah, knowing I'd be powerless to stop it. Hannah, you can't trust her. She's using you. Using me? Hannah's voice cracked. Like you used me? At least Jane never pretended to love me while gathering evidence. The accusation hit like a physical blow. That's not what happened, isn't it? Tell me honestly, Chelsea. If I hadn't been your source, would you have ever looked twice at me? I wanted to lie, to say something that would fix this, but Hannah deserved better than comfortable deceptions. I don't know, I whispered. Maybe not at first, but what we became, what we had, that was real. Real enough to destroy for a story. I was trying to protect you. By exposing everything we shared, by making me front page news. Jane's hand settled on Hannah's shoulder, possessive and protective. The car's waiting, Hannah. We should go. Go where? Somewhere safe, away from reporters and questions and people who claim to love you while stabbing you in the back. Hannah looked at me one last time, and I saw everything we'd built crumbling in her green eyes. I can't do this anymore, Chelsea. I can't be with someone whose job requires destroying people. Hannah, please. But she was already walking away, Jane's arm around her waist, toward a life I couldn't compete with and didn't understand. I sat in my car outside her building until dark, hoping she'd come back, hoping we could find some way through this. But the lights never came on in her apartment, and eventually I drove home to my empty place in the wreckage of everything I'd thought I wanted. I quit 3 days later, walked into Eric's office, dropped my ID badge on his desk, and walked out without a word. He'd won his Pulitzer and destroyed Hannah's life in the process. Some victories aren't worth the cost. The severance pay would last 2 months if I was careful. I had no job prospects, no references worth using, and no idea what came next. But I had something more important, a clear conscience, finally. Finding Hannah took a week of careful detective work. Jane had whisked her away to a private estate in the Hamptons, complete with pristine stables and security gates. But Hannah still volunteered at the Grove Street shelter every Tuesday morning. Some habits die hard. She looked different, expensive clothes, professional styling, but her eyes held the same exhaustion I'd seen that first night in the convenience store. Jane's money could buy a lot of things, but it couldn't buy peace. You shouldn't be here, she said without looking up from the injured cat she was treating. I had to see you. Why? To gather more material? To tell you I quit. And to apologize. That got her attention. She straightened, studying my face carefully. You quit the Tribune? Yesterday. Couldn't keep working for someone who'd sacrifice sources for headlines. Little late for noble gestures, don't you think? The bitterness in her voice cut deep, but I deserved it. Maybe. But I needed you to know that what we had meant more to me than any story. Past tense? That's up to you. She was quiet for a long moment, her hands gentle with the wounded animal. Finally she spoke. Jane's been good to me, generous. But she wants to own me, every thought, every feeling, every choice. She's building a beautiful cage and expecting me to be grateful for it. So leave. And go where? Back to my old life where I can't afford groceries? Where people cross the street to avoid the woman who brought down Millbrook? Come with me. The words surprised us both. I hadn't planned to say them, but suddenly they felt like the only truth that mattered. Come with you where? You're unemployed. I have an idea. A crazy one, but it might work. I told her about the animal rescue center I'd been researching. A failing operation upstate. Available for a fraction of its worth. My severance pay plus her expertise could make it viable. We'd be partners, I said. Equal partners. No secrets, no hidden agendas. You're serious. Dead serious. We could help animals the way we helped each other. Build something that matters. For the first time in weeks, I saw hope flicker in her green eyes. Jane would never let me go quietly. Then we'll make sure she has reasons not to fight us. That evening, I waited in the parking lot of the Carter estate. When Jane's Ferrari pulled through the gates, I was ready. Chelsea. What a surprise. Her smile was predatory. Come to beg for Hannah back? Come to make you an offer. I'm listening. Let Hannah go, and I'll give you something you want more than her. What could you possibly have that I'd want? I handed her a thick manila envelope. Remember those financial records from my investigation? The ones Eric didn't publish? Her expression shifted as she scanned the documents. Quarterly reports showing Carter Industries' illegal waste disposal practices, falsified environmental impact studies, bribery documentation spanning 3 states. Where did you get these? Jane, I'm a investigative reporter. Was an investigative reporter. I know how to dig. You're blackmailing me. I'm offering you a choice. Let Hannah make her own decision about her life, and these documents disappear forever. Keep trying to control her, and they find their way to every environmental group and prosecutor in the tri-state area. Jane's laugh was sharp as winter wind. You think I won't call your bluff? Try me. We stared at each other for a long moment. Finally, Jane's shoulders relaxed slightly. You know what's funny? I actually respected you more when you were just using her for a story. That makes one of us. When Hannah emerged from the house an hour later, she was carrying a single suitcase and wearing jeans instead of designer clothes. Jane stood in the doorway, watching with the expression of someone who'd lost a game she was certain she'd rigged. Ready? I asked. Hannah looked back at the house once, then at Jane. I'm sorry it had to be this way. No, you're not, Jane replied, but you will be. As we drove away, Hannah reached across the seat and took my hand. Are we crazy for doing this? Probably. I squeezed her fingers. But crazy's worked out pretty well for us so far. The kiss we shared at the first red light tasted like freedom and possibility, like second chances and new beginnings. 6 months later, Hope Valley Animal Sanctuary was thriving beyond our wildest dreams. What started as a desperate escape plan had become something beautiful. Hannah's expertise with horses combined with my organizational skills created an operation that actually worked. Thunder's looking good, I said, watching Hannah work with the stallion we'd managed to rescue from Millbrook's bankruptcy auction. He'd made a full recovery once freed from the stress of that toxic environment. He just needed space to heal, Hannah replied, her smile radiant in the morning sunlight. Like all of us. The sanctuary housed 37 animals now, from rescued racehorses to abandoned barn cats. But more importantly, it housed us. We'd converted the old farmhouse into both office space and living quarters, creating a life that merged our professional and personal goals seamlessly. Package for you, called Marco, one of our volunteers, holding up a thick envelope. Inside was a handwritten note and a newspaper clipping. The note was from Eric. Thought you'd want to see this. Maybe I was wrong about some things. The clipping showed Jane Carter being led away in handcuffs. Carter Industries CEO arrested in environmental scandal, the headline read. Someone had leaked those documents after all. Feel bad for her? Hannah asked, reading over my shoulder. No. She made her choices. So did we. We'd been making a lot of choices lately, like the decision to apply for federal grants that would let us expand our rescue operations, like the choice to go public with our relationship, attending town council meetings as partners rather than hiding what we were. Speaking of choices, Hannah said, reaching into her pocket. I have something for you. The small velvet box made my heart skip. Hannah, before you panic, it's not what you think. Well, it is, but not yet. She opened the box to reveal 2 matching silver bands, promise rings. For when we're ready to make it official. I slipped the ring onto my finger, marveling at how right it felt. When will we be ready? When you stop looking surprised every morning that I'm still here. She was right. Despite everything we'd built together, part of me still expected her to disappear. Old habits from a profession that taught you to trust nobody completely. I love you, I said, meaning it more than I'd ever meant anything. I love you too, all of you. Even the parts that drive me crazy. Our kiss was interrupted by the arrival of a familiar car. Eric climbed out, looking uncomfortable in his city clothes among the hay bales and farm equipment. Nice place, he said, glancing around with obvious surprise. What do you want, Eric? To offer you a job. Investigative series on animal welfare. Full editorial control, your byline, generous budget. The offer was tempting. More tempting than I cared to admit. But Hannah's hand found mine, and I remembered what mattered most. Thanks, but no. I like what I'm doing now. You're wasting your talent. Am I? Look around, Eric. This is impact journalism. Real change, not just headlines. After he left, Hannah and I sat on the porch swing, watching the sunset paint the sky in shades of possibility. Any regrets? She asked. About what? Giving up the big city, the prestigious career, the excitement. I considered the question seriously. A year ago, I'd thought success meant bylines and awards, recognition from peers who'd forgotten my name by now. But watching Hannah work with a traumatized horse until it trusted again, seeing families adopt animals we'd saved, building something lasting with the woman I loved, this felt like the most important work I'd ever done. Not one, I said finally. This is exactly where I'm supposed to be. Good. Because I have news. What kind of news? The kind that involves planning a wedding. My heart stopped. Hannah Carter, are you proposing to me? I'm proposing we stop waiting for perfect timing and start living our lives. The kiss that followed tasted like forever, like promises kept and dreams realized. Around us, the sanctuary settled into evening quiet, filled with rescued souls finding their way home. Just like us.